Okay, let's talk about collective constellations. The very first time I was doing a collective constellation was in the year 1999 with one of my training groups. I was already training people in constellation work, and we were doing a constellation about some collective trauma in Bavaria, because the king of Bavaria was killed in 1864, I think. And it was King Ludwig II. And on the outside, they said he would be insane and make a suicide. But of course, he did not. So I was reading all the books about it, so I know what was written about it, and it was clear that they just killed him out of political reasons. But the lie about this was, even until today, is in the public, the lie that he was committing suicide. And we were interested in to see how that has an influence to the population of Bavaria, to the people of Bavaria. And it was really an extraordinary experience to be part of this constellation, seeing the outbreak of anger and revenge and rage of the Bavarian people when they finally, in the constellation, found out that this was a lie, and that he was killed, and that we also represented the perpetrators who really did it, and the people behind the perpetrators behind the perpetrators. And as I'm partly half Bavarian from my mother's side, so I was really feeling this this impact, what this really meant, and that the power of the people and the power also on the personal side, personal power, personal energetic fields were also touched by that. Meaning, if there is a lie in the society and something like a crime of the truth is suppressed, it suppresses the anger, the grief, and also the more positive, like joy feelings in the society, and also the personal lives, because the personal lives, the individuals are also part of the collective. They are the collective. All the individuals are the collective. And everything what is happening on the collective level always touches and influences the energy on the personal level also. So it makes really sense to be part of a process where you get more insight, what's going on in a problematic field of society or of globally seen in mankind, and find out where the real reasons of the problem is. And of course, with the idea, if you know what's going on and why it happened, and where the forces are, where they come from, who are creating the problem and maybe holding it or also up, that then you have a greater chance to be part of the solution and to find, together with others, better solutions for the problem on the society level. So this was like my first constellation. I felt it really on the personal level. And then later on, I always, when there was workshops and people were interested, we went into some collective constellations and got more and more experience with that. And the thought, why is that important for us as therapists? Why is it important for us as constellators to also know about the collective level, there are two things. One is that the personal trauma, also the intergenerational trauma which you get from your family of origin, is most of the time, or very often, it is part of a collective trauma like war, genocide, expulsion, refugee experiences with many people, but they are still touching the personal level through that, because many people were involved. And the second part, why is it important to really go there and consider doing collective work, is that we are dealing with all our family constellations and other constellations. We are dealing with personal trauma, which is 50 years ago, happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago. For example, First World War experiences are still in the families. So we are trying to heal and treat the consequences of trauma, which happened a long time ago. At the same time, collective trauma like war and other things are still happening. And every day there are so many people traumatized again. And who will do this work in 50 years again? So this is like a never-ending story. The personal treatment of unresolved trauma is very important, and it saves lives, and it improves life for many people. But there was the thought that maybe how can we stop the repeating pattern of traumatization on the collective level? How can we maybe touch many people, many souls, and heal many people, and maybe even make a big change in the society, make a big change in international relations, to stop war, to stop genocide, to stop the fight brother against brother. How can we do that? So we are on the search for forms, new forms of collective treatment to reach and touch many people in one time. And with the idea that then there will be more insight coming and knowledge coming, and also healing movements coming on the energetical level, on the broad level in society. And then with Engwin St. Just, I did many workshops in several countries. I think it were 14 countries. And we always, if there was interest, we did. Those were personal constellations, symptom constellations. But we also did collective constellations. Just to try how far can we get, is that possible that we have a wider and broader impact on the healing level. And I remember the one very interesting collective constellation in Mexico City, 2016, I think it was, where we did a collective constellation with war and peace and women and men issue. It was a covered constellation, so the four representatives of war, peace, man, archaic woman did not know which position they represented. It was very interesting what insights we got from there. And then it took over to a really huge constellation. We had over 70 participants in the constellations then. And it was really interesting. So many people reported after that constellation, that they were not only getting insights into the collective levels of society and also mankind, but then that this collective constellation also changed their personal lives towards more understanding, towards more peace, even in their relationships. So then it made sense for us to go on with this. And yeah, I did several constellations with the Corona crisis last year, and the impacts of that we could all feel. And for example, the last constellation, Collective Constellation, and Irmgard, you were mentioning that already. It happened in a German-speaking workshop for symptom constellations and healing voices, so basically for personal constellations. But there was time and interest to do collective constellations on the problems which we have between men and women in society, and of course in all the levels, all the personal relationships worldwide, really. So we started with the sacred feminine and sacred masculine, and the group was interested in that, and we got to a point where we really came towards the initial trauma. What happened? Is the unresolved trauma? What started this? And we then really could say that it was the alienation of women from their basic ground, Mother Earth, nature, religion, powers, done by Christian churches. And then after we knew this, we had to stop the constellation because we didn't have time to go on. The workshop was over. So there was no shamanic healing done with that, because this was what I'm doing in Collective Constellations. First, I do constellations pretty much similar like in a personal symptom constellation. I put the issue there, and in Collective Constellations, you don't have a person. It is like you do it for somebody. For example, if you do it for the people of Germany, the people of Germany is the client, or the population of United States of America, or the people living in Israel. So you have a big group of people for whom you do that, for the society, and you can choose what this is. And then you have the problem, and this was then like the problem between men and women, for example. And I put this there too, and then we try to find out, and this is always detective work, and this is true for the personal work and also for Collective Constellations, detective work to find out where did this all start? Where is the initial trauma? And you would go back and you make research, and then you try to bring positions into the constellations to represent those connections towards this, the initial trauma. And in this special constellation, it was really this the alienation of the female from their really basic ground of Mother Earth, and the goddess being a symbol for the positive Mother Earth energy. Life is good. Men are good, women are good, sexuality is good, children are the fruit of love and deserve all the support of the whole society, all those things, all those, the positive side of positive mentality towards a good life. It's pretty much opposite of that what the Christian churches brought. And so it was really interesting. And then if we have that, if we know where it's coming from, if we have all the players in the constellation, then we need, this is also already changing something, be conscious about it, having the insights about where it's coming from is already changing the symptom, it's already changing the problem, but you need more for a deeper healing. You need more, because if there is still unresolved trauma, so many souls in the background of society who suffered from that and still frozen maybe in unresolved trauma, it is not easy to look at your woman or your man in a free way if there's still like souls back there in your society of people who were tortured or killed because they were men, because they were women, because they were connected to the ancient religions, and so on. So you need more healing. And this is also true for personal constellation. If you have the initial trauma, maybe in a war crime, where your grandfather was maybe involved, then knowing is important. Knowing is the prerequisite for the healing, but the deeper healing is done by shamanic healing powers. And I use the method Healing Voices, which came to me in the last 20 years. And I found out that those healing voices, those shamanic healing powers, which work in healing voices, that they can also heal collective trauma. Meaning they bring the souls of those people who really experienced that collective trauma, maybe hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago, out of the frozen state of the trauma. And this brings a big shift towards healing through the whole society, but this needs time over generations. But it changes your energy field as one person, as an individual who lives in this society. And we felt it. I felt it, and Irmgard felt it too, and I'm sure other participants of this group who experienced the collective trauma with the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, that they experience some difference, how they look towards the other gender and to your own gender. And the healing, the energetic healing was not even done with that. So this would be also one possible issue if somebody is interested here, or if the group is interested to go on with this one. We will see how that goes. But we are basically we are not in the very beginning, but we are on the beginning to develop skills with collective constellations to get healing to a broader level. And what we know today is that collective constellations have a positive impact, at least in those people who experience it and their immediate surroundings, because they radiate that in their surroundings, in their families, in their relationships. Whether collective constellations have an input in or impact, healing impact in other levels of society with people who are not even knowing that we are doing this work is unclear. I think it could be possible, and there are some signs that it really is, but to really be sure, there has to be more future research be done to find out what happens in a society after collective constellations, and is it different if there are 10 people or 5 people there, or if there are 500 experiencing that, or 10,000 experiencing that. And this is the future of this work. There will be more and more people be attracted, and then we will find out that how deep the impact of collective constellations is on the societal level. But just an example, we did a collective constellation last year. It was already online, but it was an online workshop organized by Amy from Washington, D.C., and we had a group of 60, 70 people in this workshop, and we did a collective constellation for the US-American society. And there were, of course, several issues there, and one was the aggression towards the people from African descents, the descendants of the enslaved people. And we got to a good solution. There was a good feeling, a good solution in the constellation. And I said to the group, now look, what will happen in the next few weeks in the United States of America? Just be aware of that. It could happen something towards that healing, towards more peace between the white and the African side of society. And then, like 2 or 3 weeks later, George Floyd was killed by the policeman there, and the Black Lives Matter movement, which was there, of course, for a long time, got really stronger and reached also worldwide. So everybody knew about it. Everybody was being part of that. And of course, nobody can say that this happened because we did this constellation. But what you can say, that there is already an energetic movement towards healing in society, and that the collective constellation we did is part of that movement. So that you are called to be there, you're called to that, you do that, and this is also already part of a collective movement. So I see it, I look at it like this, but we will see and we will learn about the possibilities, how to influence society and maybe also the global community with a collective constellation work towards more healing, more peace, more togetherness, to more community. And we will make a few, I think, interesting experiences in this workshop.